Hey everyone, we're approaching the middle of the year, and with that, we have to start looking at all the retiring LEGO Star Wars sets, leaving us at the end of the year. Nothing's worse than finding out you missed out on a set that you really wanted. So with that, I'm going to talk about all 24 of them and also rank them along the way as to what I think is worth skipping or worth getting. Alright, let's get rolling at the bottom. In the skips category, we're going to start with number 24. The first one is the Crimson Firehawk. It's a 4+ set, and so I'm sure for anyone watching this video, this set doesn't really appeal to them. That age range of sets just has terrible quality and isn't worth it even for the hardcore collectors. I always find these sets to be an easy skip. The next set at 23 is the Creative Play Droid Builder, and this set's just too off the wall for me. I don't think it provides much value. At a $100 price tag, this kind of random set filled with a ton of droids just isn't really my thing. I'd much rather spend that on a set that actually is a vehicle from the series. Not to downplay this set in any way though, because the builds are really great, and for what they did, I think it's actually a very quality set. But again, not my and there's not too much to say about it. I mean, it's a polybag. These normally only show up for 1 year and then are gone. And it's a good Millennium Falcon polybag, but nothing I'd go out of my way to get. At number 21, I have the 2025 Advent Calendar. Of course, these retire instantly at the end of the year as they're a one-time event. However, they're normally much better than this. This 2025 Advent Calendar looks like a huge letdown. Its theme is droids, which just doesn't really work out in this case. I don't really think that's a great concept in general, but even with their current execution, it just makes it even worse. There aren't a ton of droids or builds that actually are appealing. A lot of the builds are random heaps of junk, and as far as the droids go, there's a couple interesting ones like B2 from Andor. I really like the Babu Frick minifigure, but there's not much here that, gets me going and excited for the set. They should have included more interesting droids, like maybe a tactical droid from the Clone Wars, because we haven't seen that in forever. A K2SO variant could be cool. You see, there's just a lot more options they could have given us besides what they did. Anyway, though, I just think it falls way too flat, and not even the minifigures are enticing in the set. Ahead of that is a set I'm probably going to get hated on for, but at number 20, I have Darth Vader's helmet. I know it's a fine set, it's just not my thing. This is one I definitely think fits in other categories for other people, and one some of you might want to pick up, but for me, the helmet line isn't my thing. It's not very enticing to me. For some reason, there's only a couple that really speak to me. Otherwise, I've been choosing to skip a lot of them. Maybe it is your thing, and if it is, this does look like a pretty good set. A little stud heavy for my taste, but pretty good. However, this list is my opinion, so I had to be honest. Ahead of that, at number 19, I have the Onyx Cinder, a set that really has no faults of its own. It's just, I haven't seen the show, and I don't really care about this set because of that. I will admit, I think there's a lot of fun in this set. As a playset, it seems to have plenty of features, good minifigures, everything you'd want in a LEGO set. But I have no connection to it, and I bet that's the same answer for a lot of you out there. But I have no connection to it, making it hard to really put it any higher on the list. Alright, at number 18, we have Luke Skywalker's X-Wing mech. I did put this in the skip category, but this is one of the few mechs I actually enjoy. I'm probably still going to skip it because mechs don't really fit Star Wars, but this one is a good one. I love how it's different from the others. The others just take the characters and kind of expand them, whereas this one makes a vehicle into a mech. It's much more interesting and fits Star Wars a lot more than what they were trying to do before. And I think this is just way better of an idea, but I still have to put it in the skip because mechs for Star Wars just aren't the best. Alright, with that, we are done with the skip category. Now we're kind of moving on to the okay sets. Either way, I could lean either skipping or getting them, depending on if you see a good deal or your own personal opinion. The first one in this category is the X-Wing and TIE Fighter mashup set. For its price, you get two iconic ships, and you can have super fun dogfighting them. I mean, on paper, this set just seems awesome, right? A TIE Fighter and an X-Wing. When you really get in there and examine it though, fitting both of these into one set did hurt them in some areas. Plus that novelty of the mashup set also, again, made some compromises to the build quality. Nothing I'd say that's detrimental to the set, but nothing that helps it out either. There are definitely better models out there of these ships, but still this isn't a bad way to get them both in one set if that's what you want. The minifigure lineup, I will admit, is a little subpar too, leading to its ranking on this list. 16th, I have the Bark Speeder Escape, a smaller set that gives us the classic Bark Speeder. It's really just a rebuild with a sidecar. So for that reason, I kind of find this set a little dull, even though I like the idea. It was a very interesting set choice, but I'm super glad we get it. While the builds don't really wow me, the minifigures are great. 2 501st clones, Grogu, and then Keller and Beck, which easily takes the cake and is the stunner from the set. His minifigure looks absolutely astounding, and the details on his robes are second to none. One of the better Jedi to come out in the last few years, and I feel like it looks exactly like him. They did a great job, so that kind of accompanied by other good minifigures, and then a fine build, makes its way into this category of I could really see either getting it or skipping. At number 15, I have the UCS X-Wing. While the X-Wing is a super iconic ship, their UCS model just didn't quite fit the bill in my opinion. It's really good and I'd say worth it for the most part, but I feel like there's just too many little things that add up. Not to mention, I feel like there's previous versions of this ship that are better. So comparing them in that way makes it harder to see the set as good as someone else new to the theme might. And for that reason, I put it down here, kind of in the middle ground. I also did this because it's very reasonable to expect them to make another UCS X-Wing at some point, and I wouldn't mind waiting for that instead of this one. But maybe that's just me. But hey, maybe you can't, you want this one now, and its small flaws don't bug you. There's just a few little gaps in the front of the nose, and even on the wings, I feel like some of the build techniques could have been better used. Some of the build techniques would have been better going a different route. 14th on the list is the Mos Espa Pod Race diorama. Well, I love the idea of this diorama, and when I heard about it coming out, I was super stoked. In actuality, this set is a little bare. It's really just a desert build with a few tiny microfighter pod racers in the middle. I think it works, but it's also kind of plain, and there definitely could have been something else going on here. I think there needed to be to make it a great set. You know, truthfully, there is nothing wrong with it, but it's not one that grabs my attention either and makes me want to instantly pick it up, even though when I heard a pod race diorama was coming, I thought it was going to be a day one purchase. As the only prequel diorama so far though, maybe that's something you want to invest in. Moving on to number 13, we have Darth Maul's Sith Infiltrator. This set, I feel like, was so disappointing on so many levels. The price, the minifigures, and that build even disappoints. Minifigure wise, I think the 3 we get are good, although Maul's pupilless eyes are very questionable. The 3, Qui-Gon, Anakin, and Maul, are good. The problem is the quantity relative to that price, and really a lot of my issues with this set come to the price, because when you're paying a higher dollar, I feel like a lot of these little issues I'm mentioning should have gone away. I've already mentioned the minifigures, but even the build, I mean, there's this big bump in the middle that really turns me off. This is supposed to be a very smooth and sleek ship, and for the most part, it accomplishes that very well. But that middle, it looks really weird to me, and pops out as a big eyesore, which really stinks because I love Maul Sith Infiltrator normally. Real quick, I did almost forget about Saw Gerrera being included, but I don't really care to mention those 25th anniversary figures because they're supposed to be seen as an extra add-on, a bonus to us fans, so I don't like to include them in my calculation of, minifigure to price. However, he is a very nice bonus and is another great minifigure. Next up at 12 is the Desert Skiff and Sarlacc Pit, another 25th anniversary set that, again, has a price issue. I get where they went with this set and why they did it to match the UCS Jabba sail barge, but at that point, it should have just been included with the sail barge because they overinflated this playset, making it seem like it's way too much money for a playset and what you're getting in it. Now, subtracting the cost from the equation, I love this set. I think it looks gorgeous, minifigures are perfect, a great 25th anniversary minifigure as well, and truthfully, besides the cost, I would have considered this one of the most solid sets released that year. But that cost is a big burden. And for that, it lands it in this kind of no man's land of I'd wait for a sale before trying to pick it up. Real quick, I will add a side note that I can't imagine this set's actually going to retire this year. I feel like it'd be a huge misstep to retire the set before they retire the UCS sail barge. They go so well together that I just see no future in my mind where they retire the set before the UCS sail barge. Anyway, after that, at number 11, we have the Paz Vizsla vs. Moff Gideon set. It's a $40 set, but it's so much fun. It's got a really fun build of the terrain with Moff Gideon's kind of base area, that hangar bay, whatever you want to call it. And it's a really good build with plenty of play features in it. Great minifigures that are exclusive to this set. And man, you just have a really good set. This probably could have gone in the mandatory get these for the year. The only reason I guess I didn't is because I have an even 10 in the top. So I wanted to kind of keep it that way. But really, this could be looped in with the top sets. I think it just has so much to love, and that playability where it connects in with the Mandalore Battle Pack is terrific. That I probably could have put in the buy section. Which, if you're paying attention, yes, the top 10 in this list is the buys. These are sets I definitely think you need to buy before the year's done. And so let's get into this top 10 of what sets I think you absolutely need. At number 10, it's the Imperial Dropship and Rebel Scout Speeder. This set is just so much fun and a blast from the past. It has everything from those original sets, although it is missing a couple minifigures. Besides that though, I really love how they updated the builds. They feel like the old builds, but in new LEGO style. Exactly how you'd want. They're upgraded while also kind of tying back to that old style. They're very creative and you can tell the designers had fun with them. Ninth is the Tantive 4. The Starship Collection is a very strong line of sets, and the Tantive 4 is another one in that category. It is a bit pricier than it probably should be, but I think it's a very nice model. And it's one of those ships that is just too iconic and everybody loves. I mean, it has such a perfect design. It's one of my favorite ships in all of Star Wars, which is easily what made it propel this far into the list. The white and red color scheme is amazing, and then of course you have those big engines on the back that just command your attention. A terrific build, and I absolutely love this sub-theme of sets. At 8, we have the buildable Droideka. LEGO has been going crazy with these buildable figures, and I think the Droideka is one of their best. First off, the Droideka is just a very interesting droid. It has a lot of different parts to it that are kind of thin, nimble, fit together weird, lots of different shapes, angles, grooves, curves. And so for them to capture it so perfectly makes it an amazing set. I also think it's a pretty good value. The minifigure sized buildable Droideka is a different story, but you're buying this mainly for the big one, and so I'm going to try and keep it on that. Because again, the build quality here is second to none. Not to mention you can even ball it up and then roll it around like a real Droideka would. It's a fun little feature that was absolutely necessary for a set like this, so it just makes it even more exciting that they nailed it with both the function and the looks. And it really comes together to create what I think is a very underrated set, and one of the better ones that's retiring this year. Next, number 7 is Ahsoka Tano's Duel on Peridea. Some people call this set overpriced, but I don't think it's quite as bad as some people make it out to be. The biggest argument against this set seems to always be that it's just a big gray slab, but it's never bothered me. I think it makes perfect sense as that's where they fought, at the top of that tower. A big gray slab makes perfect sense. Now, of course, on its own, that would be pretty lackluster. But you have those big pillars on the side that definitely set you in the scene of where you are. The saving grace, though, is all the little play features they added in that gray base. It's pretty chunky and they fit a lot of stuff in there. Other ways to move the characters and interact with them with not actually touching the minifigures. A lot of little play features that are actually really fun. Even if you don't like the build, you have to admit the minifigures are top tier. An absolute great cast that all look phenomenal. And that alone could honestly carry this set, and I think it easily makes up for its shortcomings. Ahead of that, at number 6 is the Coruscant Guard gunship. This specialty set was one I was absolutely ecstatic for. I have been proctoring for LEGO to make variations of classic ships for quite some time. With how long the theme's been running, it only makes sense that they branch out and give us different versions of X-Wings, TIE Fighters, and in this case, a gunship. Which they did, and I really like this one. It's not without its faults, but some of the charm of the new gunship makes that easier to take in. That dark red just looks great, and I love that color, especially with the white markings across it as well. Again, it's not perfect. The bubble turrets on the wings are absent and somewhat replicated by these stud shooters and these gray slopes, which doesn't look that great. But besides that, I think it's a very good build with a good lineup of minifigures. A little short staffed, I feel like, but pretty good overall. Making for a very interesting set that's gonna probably be one of a kind. I don't exactly see this one getting remade anytime soon, which also adds to its appeal. Number 5 on this list is Ahsoka Tano's T6 Jedi Shuttle. This set, just like the last Ahsoka set, has an amazing minifigure lineup. All characters included are pretty big names, or at least had a decent role in the show. And while at first I wasn't a big fan of the build, well, at all, I really had a problem with the sizing. And I still do to some degree, but it has grown on me. I feel like the build is just a bit too small. This Jedi Shuttle is supposed to be huge and be able to hold a good few minifigures, but in this scale, it kind of feels like a starfighter in some ways. The cockpit is the biggest issue for me. I definitely needed to be able to fit at least 2 minifigures in there. Only being able to fit one, it doesn't work for me. In these kind of sets, I feel like the more minifigures you can fit in the cockpits, make them feel bigger. So even if this scale was somewhat similar, if I could just fit one more minifigure in that cockpit, I'd feel a lot better about where we're at. But with only housing one character in that driver's seat, it kind of feels like a starfighter and a lot smaller than it should. This might be a problem that I'm blowing out of proportions, but it is something I like to note because it does bug me. Not nearly enough, obviously, as it still made the top 5. Fourth, I have the Boarding the Tantive 4 set. This is a great hallway build. I am very surprised it took us this long to get a set based off the iconic opening scene to A New Hope. Darth Vader's epic march into the hallway, the stormtroopers blasting their way into the Tantive 4, is so iconic and it makes for a great set. And what makes the set so special as well is that it has a great dual use as either a display set or for playing. Display wise, it looks pretty nice with all the great details you'd expect and some very clean edges. But I absolutely love how they were able to fit so many different play features into this area. There's a good few levers to pull and doors to open that'll let you interact a lot with this hallway scene. And with a huge minifigure lineup, you have so many ways to play and interact with the set or display it, whichever suits you. And then finally, I'd be remiss not to mention Fives. His minifigure is in debate as it's not the best quality, but having him in here at all is pretty cool. And it's just kind of the cherry on top to this set. Alright, we are finally cracking the top 3. And in this third spot, I have the Invisible Hand. This ship is absolutely amazing. It looks incredible, and I feel like its price point was absolutely perfect. At $50, it feels like a good deal, which is hard to say about LEGO sets most of the time. But I really like this one. The ship's awesome. It's one we've been dying for so long. And all the curves, angles look phenomenal on this build. I particularly love the hangar bay. I think that feature we obviously all recognize so much from the Revenge of the Sith opening. And because of that, I just immediately am drawn to it and look at it, which thankfully they nailed it. Speaking of that movie, they even include the feature of being able to break it in half, which doesn't really do much as you can't display it that way, but it's a very nice nod to the movie. And all in all, it's one of the most solid LEGO sets I've seen in the past few years. Alright, the runner-up on this list is the UCS Razor Crest. Of course, this set is very expensive, so I want to start by saying if you can't afford it, obviously you probably have to let this one pass, but if you can get it, I would highly recommend. This famous ship from The Mandalorian is absolutely packing everything you could want. The exterior, of course, looks phenomenal. You can just tell. That's to be expected with the UCS sets. It's so smooth and detailed. It's a really great look. Of course, it's not the classic silver from the show, but that would have been very expensive for LEGO to do, and they haven't made silver pieces like that in forever. This light gray, though, works plenty well, and I can't complain about anything on this exterior, besides maybe the cockpit. I really don't understand why they couldn't make a new piece for that. They already did so much for this big new set, but they couldn't make a new cockpit piece so it lined up. That is the only complaint I have, though, as otherwise, I find this set to be perfection inside and out, which is crazy because I haven't even mentioned the interior yet, which is fully done. Every square inch of this place is taken advantage of. to show off scenes from the show or rooms that we've seen. There's so many little Easter eggs and nods, it makes it a blast to build and go through. This nearly minifigure scale set absolutely blows me away in every sense of the word. This is what UCS sets should strive to be. They did a phenomenal job, and it's really surprising, but it had to be my runner-up. In my very top spot, the number 1 place is taken by the Ghost and Phantom 2. Basically, all the Ahsoka sets were in this top 10, and for good reason. They absolutely nailed all of these sets. The Ghost and Phantom 2 does exactly what the other sets did as well. The Ghost and Phantom have never looked better. The colors pop, the shape is perfect, even better than the old model, which was built wrong. And while the interior may be lacking, I don't think that's a big deal. That's not really what you come to for these sets. The Ghost is an iconic ship, and one I think that anyone who's seen Star Wars Rebels is going to immediately want to get. It has that appeal, and at a smaller price point than the UCS Razor Crest, it just had me kind of leaning this way. While I love the big expensive sets, I'm also a sucker for just a normal playset. And so I think that's kind of why it beat out the UCS Razor Crest. But I'm not trying to discredit either of these sets, they're great. But for that reason, this set had to be my number 1 pick. Now I want to hear if you guys agree. Let me know in the comments below what you think of my list, and what sets you're going to be picking up before the end of the year. Let me know all that down below in the comments. Like and subscribe for more, and until next time, I'll see you guys later.